Okay, so Alphabet's got a combination of, when you look it up, you can buy it, very Amazon-like. But the blue dot, what people are recognizing, if you are a small business, is that they give you a report which tells you whether they got the customer to you. Because you follow the blue dot, which shows you, well, you get up from a subway stop and find me the best French restaurant. It is the ROI of $1 given to Google is so much superior to everything other than perhaps Amazon that it really makes no sense. It's kind of like if there's only like 2 TV stations.
Right.
And that matters tremendously because Twitter is not a TV station yet. But you have Google and Amazon, and a lot of the people who are putting money realize it's game, set, match. Let's just put money with those two. And that's what's happening. That's why Twitter was so interesting that Carl Icahn found the risk reward might not be that bad in the 30s for Twitter. And I'm sure you have some discussion.
Yeah, I mean, Icahn started as a risk arb. He was just playing risk arb there. He's made some money. Not nearly as much, by the way, as Pentwater. Matt Halbauer came on with me a number of weeks ago talking about all the reasons why he felt the deal was going to actually go through and they were going to prevail in court. A lot of people focus on Icahn because he's Icahn. But he was just playing, he's a risk arb. I mean, he saw an opportunity there. Good for him. He made some money. As I said, there are a number of other investors who made more. But moving on to Twitter itself, you can see the stock is up 2.2%. People sort of, coming back to what happened in court last week and feeling essentially that this judge is not going to let them not close.
No.
The representations that have been made put them in a position where, as we've said, they would end up back in Delaware in court very quickly, and I think we all would know the outcome if that were to be the case. Still waiting on some data points along the way. Don't know if the banks have been asked to fund yet or invoke their marketing period 15 days. I don't know that they're going to want to market this debt yet. The market's not great for marketing this debt. There's going to be a loss associated with the $12.5 billion that Morgan Stanley is leading with a consortium of other banks. Marketing means selling it down to other banks, but they'd have to take a haircut in order to do that. But Jim, we're counting down now, and then the question becomes really, and we'll have to start to talk more about this in the coming weeks. What is Twitter going to look like? As a private company, we won't be talking about it any longer in terms of the performance of the stock, but more as a business. Mr. Musk will have put 25 of his own billions into it, not to mention the 7 he's raising from his friends. How's he going to change it?
Well, I know the company's working on becoming better at advertising, but they're not ready. Not ready, which is really interesting because Google is pointing money, and of course Amazon. They're also not ready with using direct message as a way for, say, a bank to be able to connect to see if you're really in Mexico. They have not been able to do that. Those are 2 easy things to do. Against this, David, is that there really is no real way to sugarcoat it. Their revenues have just been bad.
Right.
Now, David, one of the areas that we have to talk about endlessly, I hate to say this, is semiconductors as being just market poison. Not a market laggard, but a poison. Now, I mentioned something positive about Nvidia. No one really cares. There's a very big gaming cycle that kicks in January. No one cares. This stock, along with AMD and Intel, have been really black holes. And a lot of people own them. I can make a case that there'll come a time to own them. I owned AMD and Nvidia sold a lot.
Both down 60% for the year, Nvidia and AMD.
Right,
almost identical performance.
And people are worried about Intel's dividend. Pat Gelsinger is pretty much assured that you're fine, but they have to spend a lot of money on CapEx. But you know what? You know who keeps coming back as someone who was too bullish? Enrique Lores, HBQ.
Yeah.
And apparently, I think felt that things were going to stay strong for a long time. Yields 4. I wouldn't touch it.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.